The Royal Norwegian Air Force is the Air Force of Norway. It was established as a separate arm of the Norwegian Armed Forces on November 10, 1944. The RNOAF's peacetime establishment is approximately 1,430 employees. 600 personnel also serve their draft period in the RNOAF. After mobilization, the RNOAF would consist of approximately 5,500 personnel. The infrastructure of the RNOAF includes 7 air bases, 2 control and reporting centers and 3 training centers and at KNMHH Madlay-Lyron. History. Conception military flights started on June 1, 1912. The first plane, Hno Mistart, was bought with money donated by the public and piloted by Hans Dons, second in command of the submarine Hno Miskobben. Up until 1940, most of the aircraft belonging to the Navy and Army Air Forces were domestic designs or built under license agreements, the main bomber scout aircraft of the Army Air Force being the Dutch-origined Fokker CV. World War II Build-up for World War II. Before 1944, the Air Force were divided into the Norwegian Army Air Service and the Royal Norwegian Navy Air Service. In the late 1930s, as war seemed imminent, more modern aircraft was bought from abroad, including 12 Gloster Gladiator fighters from the UK, and 6 Heinkel He-115s from Germany. Considerable orders for aircraft were placed with United States companies during the months prior to the invasion of Norway on April 9, 1940. The most important of the U.S. orders were 2 orders for comparatively modern Curtiss P-36 Hawk monoplane fighters. The first was for 24 Hawk 75A6, 19 of which were delivered before the invasion. Of these 19, though, none were operational when the attack came. A number were still in their shipping crates in Oslo Harbor, while others stood at the Kjell Aircraft Factory, flight-ready, but non-combat ready. Some of the Kjell aircraft had not been fitted with machine guns, and those that had been fitted still lacked gun sights. The ship with the last 5 75A6s that were bound for Norway was diverted to the United Kingdom, where they were taken over by Royal Air Force. All 19 Norwegian P-36s that were captured by the German invaders were later sold by the German authorities to the Finnish Air Force, which was to use them to good effect during the Continuation War. The other order for P-36s was for 36 Hawk 75A8, none of which were delivered in time for the invasion, but were delivered to Little Norway near Toronto, Ontario, Canada. There they were used for training Norwegian pilots until the USAAF took over the aircraft and used them under the designation P-36G. Also ordered prior to the invasion were 24 Northrop N-3PB float planes built in on Norwegian specifications for a patrol bomber. The order was made on March 12, 1940 in an effort to replace the Royal Norwegian Navy Air Service's obsolete MF-11 biplane patrol aircraft. None of the type were delivered by April 9, and when they became operational with the 330 Squadron in May 1941 they were stationed at Reykjavik, Iceland, performing anti-submarine and convoy escort duties. Escape and exile. The unequal situation led to the rapid defeat of the Norwegian Air Forces, even though 7 Gladiators from Gjøvingen defended Fornebu Airport against the attacking German forces with some success, claiming 2 Me-110 heavy fighters, 2 He-111 bombers and 1 Junkers Ju-52 transport. Gjøvingen lost 2 Gladiators to ground strafing while they were rearming on Fornebu and 1 in the air, shot down by future expert Helmut Blendt, injuring the sergeant pilot. After the withdrawal of Allied forces, the Norwegian government ceased fighting in Norway and evacuated to the United Kingdom on June 10, 1940. Only aircraft of the Royal Norwegian Navy Air Service had the range to fly all the way from their last remaining bases in northern Norway to the UK. Included amongst the Norwegian aircraft that reached the British Isles were 4 German-made Heinkel He-115 seaplane bombers, 6 of which were bought before the war and 2 more were captured from the Germans during the Norwegian campaign. 1 He-115 also escaped to Finland before the surrender of mainland Norway, as did 3 MF-11s. Landing on Lake Salmajar currency RVI in Petsamo. A captured Aradoa 196 originating from the German heavy cruiser Admiral Hipper was also flown to Britain for testing. For the Norwegian Army Air Service aircraft, the only option for escape was Finland, where the planes would be interned but at least not fall into the hands of the Germans. In all, 2 Fokker CVS and 1 de Havilland Tiger Moth made it across the border and onto Finnish airfields just before the capitulation of mainland Norway. All Navy and Army aircraft that fled to Finland were pressed into service with the Finnish Air Force, while most of the aircrew eventually ended up in Little Norway. The Army and Navy Air Services established themselves in Britain under the command of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Norwegian air and ground crews operated as part of the British Royal Air Force, in both wholly Norwegian squadrons and also in other squadrons and units such as RAF Ferry Command and RAF Bomber Command. In particular, Norwegian personnel operated 2 squadrons of Supermarine Spitfires. RAF 132 wing consisted of No. 331 Squadron and RAF No. 332 Squadron. Both planes and running costs were financed by the exiled Norwegian government. In the autumn of 1940, a Norwegian training centre known as Little Norway was established next to Toronto Island Airport, Canada. The Royal Norwegian Air Force was established by a royal decree on November 1, 1944. Thereby merging the Army and Navy Air Forces. No. 331 Squadron defended London from 1941 and was the highest-scoring fighter squadron in South England during the war. Up until May 8, 1945, 335 persons had lost their lives while taking part in the efforts of the ALll. Post-war Air Force . After the war, the Spitfire remained in service with the ALll into the 50s. In 1947, the Surveillance and Control Division acquired its first radar system, and around the same time the ALll got its first jet fighters in the form of de Havilland Vampires. In 1949 Norway co-founded NATO, and soon afterwards received American aircraft through the MAP. The expansion of the Air Force happened at a very rapid pace as the Cold War progressed. Throughout the Cold War, the Norwegian Air Force was only one of 2 NATO air forces, Turkey being the other, with a responsibility for an area with a land border with the Soviet Union, and Norwegian fighter aircraft had on average 500 to 600 interceptions of Soviet aircraft each year. In 1959, the anti-aircraft artillery was integrated into the Royal Norwegian Air Force. In 1999, Norway participated with a number of F-16s during Operation Allied Force. 21st Century RNOAF, in October 2002, a tri-national force of 18 Norwegian, Danish, and Dutch F-16 fighter bombers, with 1 Dutch Air Force KC-10A tanker, flew to the Manas Air Base in Kyrgyzstan, to support the NATO ground forces in Afghanistan as a part of the Operation Enduring Freedom. One of the missions was Operation Desert Lion. In 2004, 4 F-16s participated on NATO's Baltic air policing operation. Since February 2006, 8 Royal Netherlands Air Force F-16s, joined by 4 Royal Norwegian Air Force F-16s, have been supporting NATO International Security Assistance Force ground troops mostly in the southern provinces of Afghanistan. The air detachment is known as the 1st Netherlands-Norwegian European Participating Forces Expeditionary Air Wing. 2010s, Libyan no-fly zone, in a statement, Foreign Minister Jonas Gahr Station condemned the violence against peaceful protesters in Libya, Bahrain and Yemen, saying the protests are an expression of the FIOPLI unregistered trademark's desire for more participatory democracy. The authorities must respect fundamental human rights such as political, economic and social rights. It is now vital that all parties do their utmost to foster peaceful dialogue on reforms. On March 19, 2011, the Norwegian government authorized the Royal Norwegian Air Force to head for Libya and prepare for missions there. Norway has approved 6 General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon fighters and necessary personnel. These fighters will head for Greece on March 21 and operate from the Souda Air Base in Souda Bay on Crete. On March 24, 2011, F-16s from the Royal Norwegian Air Force was assigned to the United States Africa Command in the Operation Odyssey Dawn. A number of Norwegian F-16s took off from their base in Greece for their first mission over Libya. On March 25, 2011, 3 laser-guided bombs were launched from 2 F-16s of the Royal Norwegian Air Force against Libyan tanks, and during the night towards March 26 an airfield was bombed. Equipment also deployed to Operation Unified Protector on March 26, 2011. By July 2011 the Norwegian F-16s had dropped close to 600 bombs, some 17% of the total bombs dropped at that time. It was Norwegian F-16s that on the night towards April 26, bombed Gaddafi's headquarters in Tripoli. From September to December 2011, the Air Force contributed personnel and 1 P-3 Orion to Operation Ocean Shield. Operating from the Seychelles, the aircraft searched for pirates in the Somali Basin. Plans: the ALll will conduct several investments in the coming years. First, the European helicopter NH-90 will be introduced to replace the Lynx helicopters as a shipborne helicopter. The Air Force also have bought an additional 16 search and rescue Augusta Westland AW101 helicopters to replace its aging Sea King helicopters. The aging F-16AM fighter will be replaced from 2016. On November 20, 2008, the Prime Minister of Norway Jens Stoltenberg announced that the F-35A was the only fighter fulfilling all the Norwegian requirements and thus the preferred choice. Stoltenberg stated that cooperation with the Nordic countries on defense and security would continue independently of the F-35 purchase. According to the 2012 White Paper, a number of changes are proposed. A National Air Operations Center will be established at Reitan, outside Bodø. The Control and Reporting Center at Mayengira will be closed. ALll will become the main operating base for the F-35 as well as NASAMS 2 and the deployable base defense units. Evenes will house a quick reaction alert detachment when the F-35 replaces the F-16. As F-16 operations wind down in the early 2020s, Bodø will close as an air station. The Royal Norwegian Air Force participates in the EATC-led acquisition by the Royal Netherlands Air Force for Airbus MR330 tanker and transport aircraft based at Eindhoven Air Base. Helicopter operations will be consolidated at Bardufoss with detachments, Bell 412 in southeast Norway. NH-90 NFH at Håkonsvern. SAR detachments of 330 Squadron at current locations. The 3 DA-20 aircraft will move from Rygge to Gardermoen. 720 Squadron will be merged with 339 Squadron at Bardufoss, and Rygge will close as an air station. On June 7, 2012, the United States Defense Security Cooperation Agency notified Congress today of a possible foreign military sale to the government of Norway for 2 C-130J-30 United States Air Force baseline aircraft and associated parts, equipment, logistical support and training for an estimated cost of $300 million. Organization: the ALll is organized in 10 air wings. These are divided into a total of 2 control and reporting centers, 9 flying squadrons as well as 2 anti-aircraft units. Control and Reporting Center Mayengira 130 Air Wing, Control and Reporting Center ZARREISA, 131 Air Wing, Bodø Main Air Station, 132 Air Wing, 331 Squadron, 332 Squadron, were disbanded July 31, 2015, GBAD Battalion, 330 Squadron. Station Group Banak at Banak Air Station, 330 Squadron. ARLAND Main Air Station, 138 Air Wing, 338 Squadron, GBAD Battalion, Mobile Base Set. 330 Squadron, NATO Airborne Early Warning Force, Forward Operating Location, Andøya Air Station, 133 Air Wing, 333 Squadron. Bardufoss Air Station, 139 Air Wing, 334 Squadron, 337 Squadron, 339 Squadron, 718 Squadron, Royal Norwegian Air Force Flight Training School. Gardermoen Air Station, 135 Air Wing, 335 Squadron. Rygge Air Station, 137 Air Wing, 717 Squadron, 720 Squadron, 330 Squadron, Base Defense Squadron, Security Force and Educational Unit for Fire and Rescue Personnel and Radar Personnel for the NASAMS 2 system. Solar Air Station, 134 Air Wing, 330 Squadron. Håkonsvern Naval Base, 139 Air Wing, 334 Squadron. Norwegian Air Force Academy. Aircraft. Current inventory Anti-aircraft, NASAMS Norwegian Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems 6 units, Robot System 70 and other systems. Historical inventory. Surface-to-Air Missile, Nike Hercules. Gallery. See also, List of Air Forces, List of military aircraft of Norway, List of F-104 starfighter operators, Free Norwegian Forces, NATO Strategic Airlift Capability, Heavy Airlift Wing. Footnotes. External links, Norwegian Defence 2005, Facts from the Ministry of Defence, RNOAF Equipment Facts, History of the Royal Norwegian Air Force, Norwegian Aviation Museum Milforo 7, The Norwegian Story, Norwegian Air Force, Air Show in Kristiansand, www.milno English pages.